Hey guys, Iron Wolf here. It's been a while since I have made a Hyrule Conquest related video, but here I am with a video I'm sure a bunch of you have been looking forward to for a while now. But I'm gladly, proud to present the Lanayru build order guide. I'm going to be covering just mostly the basic opener that I would recommend for people to use for like the first 10 minutes, kind of just covering the early game, kind of how you want to play it out. So I wasn't very impressed by this faction at first, but as I started to play them a little bit more, I started to notice that they're actually, not a bad faction. I think they're actually quite strong. They're a very, economic-based faction. They've got a lot of creature units which are really cool and stuff, but I would say, the main way that you should play them is actually fairly akin to the Norse from Age of Mythology, if you guys have ever played that at a competitive level. Basically, you're going to be harassing a lot with your conscripts really early. Not a rush. I'm not saying you should rush with your conscripts. I'm sure you could if you wanted to. But what this is going to be mostly covering is a kind of like just harassing with your conscripts to put pressure during the early game to help set up your economy really well and some of your creature units going into the late game. So I've got a replay here of a match against the AI, not against the player, unfortunately, because I wanted to make sure that you guys could see kind of exactly what I'm doing. Like for like this build or whatever, I had tested it out against players over the last week or two. I've been testing this out against a couple of different players that I've gone up against. So I'll get right into it. Give me 1 second. Pull it up. All right. So here we are with Lanayru Province, as you see right here. Basically, like, I'm gonna let things play out and kind of just show you guys and just review them as they play out, if that makes any sense. Kind of like if you guys had seen my past videos, kind of like that, where I let things play out and then I cover what happened, cover what happens before that. Okay, so here we are. You see, okay, right off the bat, the first thing you want to do, this is kind of what you want to do with most factions, queue up 6 workers right away, as you see here. I send my my militia units to go harvest from the livestock. I have the workers I start with immediately build a home hub. I'm also queued up a farm right off the bat. As you see, I have just enough resources. I've used up all my food to get those workers up. You're going to use as much of that as possible, as much of your food as possible at the beginning there. So you see, as soon as this goes up, I'm building 2 homes. These workers come out. My farm goes up, 3 of them go onto there, and then all these workers are going on to the berry bushes. So if my militia there, usually if I was against another player, I would scout with the shore sentry. But I'm basically just going to be producing workers pretty much onto the ore mostly, but later on onto the stone. So a lot happened there, kind of like in the first minute and a half. Let me just go over a quick overview just so you guys can kind of keep up with me, because I'm sure I'm going a little way too fast. So the first thing I did was queue up 6 workers. My starting 4 workers, building a home hub, and on that hub I'm going to build 2 houses right away. Also, while that's going on, my militia are going onto the livestock while I am queuing up a farm to be built. As soon as those workers are finished being produced, and as soon as these workers are done, like building, sending all of them except for 3 onto the berry bushes, or just whatever map you're on, just whatever your natural resource for gathering food there is, and the rest are going, or those 3 are going on to the farm. Hopefully that all makes sense to you guys. Basically now what you're going to be doing is gradually producing workers onto the ore and the stone, because you can't gather wood as Lanayru, because the half Sora, they don't use any of the wood that, like, to build any of their structures or anything. They only use stone and metal, of course. But you see here, building some workers, kind of just waiting it out. Usually I'd be scouting, kind of microing that, but just gonna do this for a little while now. Eventually what you're going to want to do is get another home hub, up pretty soon, but not quite just yet. right now you kind of want to just focus on getting as many workers and as much food in as possible. So you see I send them straight onto the ore here. As soon as we hit 100 ore, we're going to build another farm, or shrimpery, as they're called, for Lanayru. The name escaped me, but yeah, the basic farm. So, we're going to do that until we get close to about 35-ish. It doesn't exactly have to be 35, but around that area. You want to just do this until about you hit 35 out of 40 pop cap. But you see here we have just enough materials or stone to build another home hub. So we're going to be doing that in just a minute now. But you see, just producing workers all onto the ore right here. Militia, if you don't really have much livestock or any livestock on the map you're on, you could just use them to scout or help gather food or whatever. But you see here, as soon as these guys brought in 100 metal, I queued up a farm. It's about to go up. Yep, there you go. See right there. So I'm getting kind of close to 35 out of 40 food, or no, I'm sorry, not food, population. And so any second now I'm going to have some of these workers go off. I usually use the ones from the berry bushes. You can use your militia, the ones from the ore, wherever, to build yourself a home hub. It's all up to you, but you see here, building another one right away. Also, what you're going to want to do is just keep building workers, just non-stop. So you see I got these ones onto the stone here, got all these guys on the ore. Okay, as soon as the second home hub goes up, you're going to want to build 2 homes right away. So let me review real quick, just over what I've been talking about for the last, what has it been? About a little over 2 minutes now. Okay, so we got our first minute and a half down, right? Kind of know what we need to do from there. We're going to be producing workers onto the stone and the ore until you get to about the mid-30s, like population-wise, and then you're going to build another home hub. Now, once you get this hub up, you're going to be out of materials, so you're going to need to, of course, get some stone. But as soon as this one goes up, you're going to build 2 more homes on top of it, or you can just do 1 and then a third on there. It doesn't really matter. It's whichever you prefer. And then just keep producing workers. Just non-stop. Although I will say, as soon as you do get these first 2 up, this is gonna be where you want to start bringing out some of your conscripts. So you see here I have 2 conscripts queued up in each one. At this point in the game, you're gonna want to juggle your resources a lot, because you're gonna have a lot of this and a lot of that. Later, when you get a market, it's gonna become a lot easier to juggle resources like that. But it's gonna be a little tricky at first, but it's not too difficult with some practice. But you're going to want to juggle your resources between your food and whatnot to constantly be producing both conscripts and workers. So you see here I've got conscripts coming from them. So as soon as I hit 100 food, also by the way, you see right here, I queued up a farm. Or no, I'm sorry, not 100 food, I'm sorry, 100 metal. But as soon as you hit 100 metal, you're going to queue up this next farm, so that you can have 3 out of 3 farms on your civic center. But you see, just constantly producing workers onto the ore and stone still. I can start putting some on the rupees soon. But still, as you see here, after those conscripts came out, still producing more. And this is where it kind of differs playstyle-wise. If you want to do I would recommend the harassing strategy because it's really effective against most matchups, but there are some where you would want to maybe play a little more passive. So most of the time, I would recommend you produce the conscripts towards your opponent's base, and then usually, like, if this wasn't an AI match, I would be harassing, trying to like snipe a house, like to take it over and stuff. But you don't have to do that. You can play more defensive. If you were to play more defensive and more passive with this strategy, you'd want to use your conscripts for getting more resources to focus on your economy more. But you're getting so many resources because your economy is so strong that they're not necessary, but they would help. Of course they would help. So you see here we're producing conscripts towards our opponent's base. Usually, like I said, we would be harassing them. Still producing workers from here after getting 3 out of 3 farms right here. But once you hit the mid to early 50s of your population, like population cap, usually like 55, 53, 54 out of 60, you want to start building another home hub. But still producing these. You can use whichever workers you prefer. You see I just took some off the rupees there. But as soon as this goes up, we're going to be producing 3 conscripts, like at a time. Don't do this. This is kind of a mistake because I was just trying to demonstrate. This wouldn't, like if I was playing super serious, I wouldn't exactly like have a problem, but you saw there I was kind of population capped out. Try not to do this. Try to get this up and some of the houses on it up before you cap yourself out, just so you know you don't have any downtime. Just something to keep in mind. It's not really specific to this faction, it's just a general tip. But you see here I'm producing all these conscripts. We're at 5.5 minutes in. So as soon as this one goes up, and I'll pause and kind of do a review real quick. As soon as this one goes up, we're building 2 homes on top of there. And if the resources allow, and you're going to want to do this as soon as they do, you're going to want to, finish off these other 2. So in this situation where I have 2 here, just kind of get 3 on both. So you kind of have 3, 3, and 2, as far as like how many homes you have. So since I got this home up, or this home hub, nothing much is changing, mostly just harassing with conscripts, constantly producing more, constantly producing workers. And then once we hit the early to mid 50s, out of 60, by this point usually, not always, everyone's different, just from what I'm showing you, I usually try to be more calculated with my, like when I should build things. So here you see mid to early 50s out of 60, building another home hub and getting 2 more homes up. So it can be about 60 out of 80, as you see there. Building more conscripts from all 3 now. Still producing them towards our opponent's base. Stupid levers. Still a nuisance in 2019. But, so, once you get to about, I want to say, late 70s, early 80s, is when things are going to start spicing up. Well, not spicing up, but more so just you're going to be like building a couple more things, kind of figuring out where you're going to go as you approach the mid game. Because around that point, as you see here, we're about 6.5 minutes in. We're about, we're close. We're getting close to the end of the early game. Just still kind of just doing the same thing of steady production of workers and conscripts, workers, conscripts, workers, conscripts. That's kind of the way you want to play your early game. To kind of just juggle the 2. Try to have them being produced at the same time, and try to minimize the downtime between them. But anyway, so around this point, as you're about close to 7 minutes in, and you're reaching about 80 or so population, you're actually going to get an economy hub. Now, the reason you're going to want an economy hub is so that you can tech, because we're using a lot of food to build these conscripts and these workers. But we have all these other resources that we're getting from our other workers because our economy is so strong that we can actually trade to get the food we need to tech up, because we want to be teched up before 10 minutes is up. Oh, as you see here, I'm kind of just harassing my opponent. This is more of just an assault, but usually I would just be, like, kiting my units around the edge of their base, trying to, like, snipe a house or 2, pick off a couple units, a couple workers, maybe a scout. But, so yeah, so once you reach that point, around the 7-minute mark or so, you're going to want to get an economy hub and upgrade it into a market. And the reason for that being, so that you can get the resources, as you see here, to be able to research the town phase. You're still going to keep up the, kind of like the same trend of conscripts, workers, conscript workers, non-stop. Also, so kind of like once you have paid for the tech, if you have the resources, definitely want to finish off like your homes if you have it on these ones, but definitely on the 3rd home hub, get your your last little house on there so you can get that population up. Because if you're like steadily producing conscripts and in workers, you know, your population's gonna catch up really fast. But after you've gotten your economy hub, your market, and your tech, like your tier 2, what you're gonna want to do is, like I said, cap off your homes and build another home hub. You're gonna get more homes on that, of course. You're just gonna want to throw conscripts at them, like not like, as I said, not like an assault, but more of just harassing, poking, pressuring your opponent, forcing them to make a decision, or forcing them to deal with it. So you see here, as soon as we hit the town phase, we have this fourth home hub up. We've got all these workers in our base, producing more conscripts non-stop from now all 4 of them. We're getting homes on all the little pads here, so we can get, you know, of course, our population up. But pretty much as soon as you have the resources, as soon as you hit tier 2, you're going to want to build an animal hub. And here, as you see, we're about 9 minutes in. We're approaching the mid-game. We're in a very good position. Pause, because this is kind of where the replay ends, just so I can start talking about more things. So, let's review. So, like, just build as a whole. The goal here is to be at least 100 population. So you see here we're at 107. At least have 100 population. Have a steady flow of income for all our resources, which we do. We have our farms, our stone, our ore, and our rupees. Our market, as you see here. A pretty sizable army of conscripts. We want to have hit tier 2. And we want to get our animal hub up. All this in under 10 minutes. I got this in about 9, but like I said, this wasn't a super serious match. So you can probably do it in about 8.5 if you're really trying. So what you want to do once you get the animal hub is there's no particular way you can go about it, because all the creatures you get from the 3 options are actually all very strong in their own rights. So I was gonna say a little bit earlier, like this faction can, like, they're a little more unique from the other factions, that their standard build varies a lot of the time from, like, depending on the matchup. So for example, if I was playing against the Gorons, I would want to use more of the Scorpions, the Orodas, I think is how you pronounce them, or their name or whatever, because they have a lot of crush damage. So because of that, they can do really good against buildings or whatnot. Or if I'm playing against the Gerudo, or something that uses a lot more, like, squishier units, I would want to use the Hydra, the Gleeokling, I think is what they're called. Or not the Gleeokling, the snake, the serpent. It's trained from the same building as the Gleeokling, though, which is a very cool unit, by the way, guys. So, and even if you want to, do more like poking and, harassment and stuff, you can still go with the what's it called? The prawn pawn. So you get the prawn riders, which can keep up your harassment game if that's the way you'd like to go. So it's kind of cool, depending on how you want to play and depending on what matchup you're in, can determine which of these types of creatures you want to build into as you approach the mid game. But yeah, our goal here is to have our creatures set up, hit tier 2, be at least 100 pop, steady flow of income, and a sizable army of conscripts. Pretty straightforward. So that's kind of how you want to set your opening up and your early game. From here you can kind of go wherever you want. I'm not going to give you a bread and butter like this is how you should play through early, mid, and late game, because I feel like the early game is the most important part. I say this a lot of the time to people in Discord. Whoever wins the game is determined within the first 10 to 15 minutes. If you can dominate and set yourself up for victory in the early game, no matter how long the game lasts, I guarantee you, most of the time you will come out on top. Even if you're not conquering your opponent, like rushing them or whatever, if you can put pressure on them while still being able to maintain a powerful economy, you are in a very, very advantageous, position. So that's really all I wanted to talk about in respect to them and just the game in general. So I hope you guys really like this video. I haven't made a video in a long time. I've been very busy, but I've got a couple videos that I really want to get out to you guys, mainly regarding Lanayru and Ordana, because I haven't covered them very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the description. Feel free to join my Discord, the new and improved official Hyrule Conquest Discord, which I will also link. Also check out the UndyingNephalim, the guy that created this awesome mod. Check out his channel. I will also link that. But besides that, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.